I know the song. Enter the Sandman.
I thought you were going to go with the old one.
Oh.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
Don't you copyright us, YouTube, and welcome to the doggone show.
So basically, there was, I think, 4 people who accused him of improprieties.
For the people at home, who you talking about? Because we just started right after Enter Sandman. So they're like, who the heck are we talking about?
So, Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman. You doggone scallywag. Yeah. I bet he's at a Diddy party.
He was not at a Diddy party. In fact, he has been able to produce evidence that these were all fabrications.
Man, it's pretty bad when you got to come up with some what do kids call those nowadays? Receipts. Had to get some receipts.
Yeah. So anyway, he had tons of receipts, like email from them and stuff like that, continuing for like years after when they said it happened, and them being friendly and, asking when they're going to meet up again and stuff like that. So that's mostly thrown out of court. But in the meantime, in Hollywood, you're guilty until proven innocent. So he's lost. He's no longer involved in Sandman, which he created. He's no longer involved in Good Omens, which was made by one of his good friends. He's no longer involved in that. They canceled one of his other shows completely. So that's messed him up.
That's nuts.
So they also mentioned something else in regards to that. Do you remember the Kevin Spacey scandal?
Oh, yeah, big time.
So there were 8 people accusing him of stuff there.
Yep.
Do you remember what happened with that?
The only thing I heard, it was he was guilty by association, but then apparently they couldn't prove that he was guilty or something. But a lot of people...
That's what I had thought too. But all the cases were thrown out with prejudice.
What?
All the cases against him, all 8, were thrown out.
What? For prejudice?
Well, with prejudice means that, like, they thought it was wrong for the cases to even be brought against him.
Yeah.
So apparently, not only was there no proof, but there was proof to the contrary. And I never heard that once on the news. Not once.
Yeah. No, I didn't either. In fact, there's a lot of people that said that he was a horrific person.
Yeah. Now he might still be, but none of those 8 people apparently was he horrible to.
That's insane. I didn't know anything about that, Nick. That's the thing. Sometimes you flat out don't know, because there's,
right.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, how many times have we seen it here? The way that they freaking spin stories.
Right.
Like, it's always insane.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if something like this comes up, you've got to put all your efforts into researching it. But, maybe hold off on like punishing people until everyone's had their day in court. Because these guys, like, we're talking losing millions of dollars, reputation, all this kind of stuff.
I will say, it could be that sometimes these people buy their way out too, though.
Yeah, that does happen.
Because I will say, who was the cat that he ended up shooting that woman, the director woman?
Yeah.
Wally.
Oh, I can't remember. The movie was Rust.
That's the movie.
I
yeah.
remember.
Why can't I think of this guy's name?
Baldwin.
Yeah, he's a Baldwin, but I can't. Alec Baldwin.
Let me just double check us on that, because there's a few of these fellas.
Yeah, there's a few.
And some of them are worse than others.
That is true.
Yep.
There's
Alec
Billy. There's Alec. But Alec is the one that shot.
Yeah.
I think he was acquitted.
He was acquitted. And from what I
don't agree with that.
From what I heard about that, it's common practice for, man, it's hard to say, because if I'm around a gun, I'm checking things myself all the time. I'm never going to assume that someone did something right.
Yeah.
Like I've had people hand me a gun before and they say the chamber's empty.
Yeah.
I'll still rack it a few times just to be sure.
For sure.
But I think the thing they said was it was on the weapon supervisor to make
That's
sure.
what they said. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. Did you actually listen to that case?
Some of it, but not a lot.
He was rushing her on the set. And she was young.
That.
Yeah, she's like 19 years old and she went to prison for it.
Oh, she actually went to prison.
That's my understanding. She was found guilty and she's serving a prison sentence right now, I think.
That's awful. Because definitely it was an accident on her part at worst.
I think this was the biggest movie that she's ever been a weapons coordinator for. And he was rushing because he was screaming that the dollars that it was costing, allegedly, the dollars that it was costing was too much. So he was pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. But here's the thing. If you are doing that kind of a movie and you have guns on the set, for one, you should never have live ammunition anywhere. But what they were saying was they were shooting in like the afternoons for fun.
Oh, see, that's got no place on a movie set.
Correct. That's what happened to Bruce Lee's son.
No, that was a little different.
Well, his was a case where it was the shrapnel, but I'm saying when there's safety within, his was a weird freak accident. But whenever you're dealing with firearms, my point being, I'm sorry, but I don't think you should ever even point it towards the actor.
I know. That's the thing.
Like, here's the thing. It's a cut scene anyway. So unless it's like close up, like if you look at that Lee's movie scene, you see him get shot, but it's not in the same scene. So what's the point of even pointing it at the actor?
I know. I think sometimes they go too far for realism.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I think a lot of times, like, it shouldn't even be a real gun in these things. I'm sure at this point in movie technology, we can make it look like a gun is firing.
Yeah. The hardest part you're going to have is the recoil. And I think that's why a lot of them, you can't. That's the thing. You'll never be able to act out a recoil like an actual gun recoil.
I wonder if you could somehow create a set gun that would recoil, but not have any way of anything coming out through the barrel.
It's impossible. Because something's got to go out somewhere.
Right. I'm just thinking it could maybe like, well, if something's got to come out somewhere anyway, it could. What happened to Brandon Lee could happen very easily, but they didn't check the gun anyway, because if they had checked it, they would have seen that there was a casing still stuck in there. Yeah, for sure. But like you said, that was a freak accident.
It was a freak accident, but it still could have been avoided.
Did you ever hear that family was under a curse?
I did hear about them being under a curse.
Yeah, and it goes back years and years and years and years, and the family thought they were haunted by ghosts and stuff like that.
It always makes me wonder how many of these curses are just invented after these horrific things happen.
Right.
Or if they're really curses.
There's a third option that people think they're cursed before it happens.
I could see that.
But it's not really a curse.
Or
maybe it really is a curse.
I mean, it goes back to, we talk about it quite often, actually, especially when we did those full episodes about, all the different things, cryptids and stuff. Sometimes we brought up the fact that just people believing that those things are occurring could potentially, like, I'm doing a podcast this week. And my podcast this week is for the Flatwoods Monster. Have you ever heard that before, Nick?
I haven't.
So funny enough, we did another cryptid in the same state You may have heard of it. It's called the Mothman.
Oh, I do recall the Mothman.
So the Mothman occurred in West Virginia and Point Pleasant, West Virginia. And the Flatwoods Monster was also in Flatwoods, West Virginia.
Oh, yeah?
Which is Braxton County, I believe. And it's like right in the center of the state. Now, what's fascinating about it is, it's so funny because it brought up so many good memories to me, because the story starts out. I don't know how much you don't know anything about this one, this cryptid.
No.
So it starts out. These kids are playing a game of pickup football in the backyard. And while they're playing, they see this thing up in the sky and it's streaking across the sky, and they see it go up into the hills. And, it's an entire tree line up in those hills. So they go to their mom and they're like, Mom, we saw this thing up in the sky. And then they all go to this hillside and they see this red illuminating light coming from the woods.
Oh,
and
really?
as they're getting closer, their dog was there. I forget what their dog's name was, Jesse or something. But the dog runs out into the freaking bushes, and all of a sudden it starts running back with his tail between his legs, and like it's whining and squelching, kind of screeching. And out of the freaking, tell me where this sounds familiar too. Coming out of the bushes is this 10-foot tall, like metal man.
A metal man.
It was like a metal man. The difference was it didn't walk, it hovered, and it wore a metallic outfit. And its head was shaped like an ace of spades, but his face was round.
You know, that does remind me about, you remember that episode where the robots were coming out of the spaceships?
Yes.
And I was going to attack them from the trees.
And remember, said they was super tall. This thing was 10 foot tall. And the interesting thing was they said that it hovered. It didn't actually walk, so it would hover.
Right.
And its arms were like really long and had claws on the end of it. So this thing chased them out of the woods.
Can you imagine seeing something like that coming out of the woods? I wouldn't even know what to think.
Nope. I ain't going
I'd
back
be like,
in.
this
Bert out, boys.
cannot be real.
Bert gone. Ain't happening, folks. But they ended up going all the way to a publisher, a report and publisher. And they told him what was going on. He was completely skeptical. He's like, yeah, that didn't happen, but okay. So they go to the exact spot. And first off, there was a stench. It was like an absolutely horrific stench. The way they explained it was like sulfur and burnt metal. And in the ground was circular patterns where it looked like something had went into the ground and had pushed the grass down. Right. And
so this of course, is definitely giving UFO hallmarks here.
Oh, 1,000%. The other thing was it had red glowing eyes. What did the Mothman have? Red glowing eyes.
Mothman's upgraded.
It really did, man. It went to that metallic suit.
Yeah, he's tired of people shooting at him.
Exactly. He's like, man, it's stupid. Give me some doggone, some high-end equipment. But the authorities ended up coming down, and they're like, yeah, no, it wasn't that. Guess what they said it was, Nick?
Owl.
Freaking barn owl.
At 10 feet tall.
Yeah, they're saying that it was a misinterpretation. They're saying the red glowing pulsing light was actually from the towers, and there was a mist because it was the mountainside, that it was causing that red emitting light. And they said that it was an owl that came out, because what it said was when there's a flashlight, which the guy did point a flashlight.
Right.
I think his name was Eugene. He put a flashlight, which was a part of the National Guard, by the way, but he put the flashlight on him. And when they did, his eyes glowed red, like an orangish red.
Oh, really?
And they say barn owls do have a reddish orange when there's light there. And they say when it's scared, it puts its wings all the way out, which makes it look like it's really big. And it says when it's scared, it puts its talons in front of it. So that's why they said it looked like a barn owl.
Yeah, I'm not really buying that.
Me neither. The other fascinating thing is that when they talked about the UFO or alien, whatever you want to call it, I guess it was technically an alien. They never saw the UFO. They saw the thing streaking across the sky, but they didn't know what it was. But what they're saying is that there was also, and this reminded me of when we talked about Shag Harbor, a weird oily substance that was also on the ground.
Right, the glowing foam and stuff, yeah.
And they could never account for what that was. They cleaned it up and they never talked about it again.
Man, that's weird. Now,
the government came in, and the government was working on a project that we talked about. Project Blue Book was going on.
Right.
And they came in and then they put the kibosh on everything. They said, nah, it wasn't that. It wasn't a UFO. It was none of that stuff. Don't even worry about it. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
Never believe the doggone government ever, folks.
No, that's a true fact.
True fact. Whatever they tell you it is not,
right.
It probably is.
It probably is.
It probably is.
You kind of bring up an interesting thing, though, is, when we think of aliens and UFOs, a lot of times it's like very human-like.
Yeah.
But then we get stuff like the Mothman and these robot guys and stuff like that. And, like Chupacabra, they say could be an alien.
Yep.
And scientists have always said that things from outer space might not look anything like us at all. So that kind of supports that maybe these things are extraterrestrial.
Well, what a lot of people said when it came to this thing was that they believed that it was a drone or a scout. That's why it was all metallic, which we talked about on that story from Kentucky. What was the name of that one?
The Hopkinsville Goblins?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, with the one that made that ting noise when it was shot.
Yep. And then it didn't it bleed like a green blood or something?
Yep, that glowed on the fence post for the next 2 days.
What if that wasn't blood, but like an oily substance because it was a machine?
Right. That makes sense because it came from out of the Shag Harbor incident's craft.
Yes.
It came from the craft or the robot in your story, and it came from the scout in the Hopkinsville Goblins.
Right. It's always funny how you always see these similarities and they go, well, that clearly isn't what it is. And it's like, come on, man, what are you talking about?
Well, here's the question. They don't generally send just anyone into space.
No.
Have you ever heard of a fella by the name of Matthew Dominic?
No.
So they've sent him up there twice. So he's done a really good job. But they stopped sending him up because he keeps coming back and telling them the same story. And that's that in space, there are 8 to 10 foot long snakes. Have you ever heard this before?
I feel like I have heard this somewhere. Didn't he allude to something else also?
He was getting to the point where he was saying like, there are lots of biological entities that approach and enter the earth under their own power.
You know what I feel like? I feel like I did hear this.
Yeah, I posted a picture in the Discord there. Like he's got multiple pictures and videos of these things just wiggling their way through space just like it's nothing to them.
Did you see, who was it? SpaceX or whatever. They had one of those rockets that was put up and those people was seeing those spirals up in the sky also.
I hadn't heard about that. What was that about?
So a lot of people thought it was like some type of weird alien vortex or something, but it was just SpaceX. And I was curious if this is something similar.
I don't know. This guy seems to be pretty confident that they're snakes swimming in space.
We've talked about crazier things, Nick. So
I know. I mean, he's gone up twice and gotten pictures and videos both times, and he says they come, shooting by from deep space, heading towards the Earth, like once or twice a trip, and he catches them. And from the video I saw, it looks just like a wriggling snake.
that's kind of wild. What's his hypothesis on it? Does he have a theory on what he believes it could be?
Let's see.
That's what I'm always curious about. Like, if you see him, you have to have some type of, because clearly it's not just some snake that's, just wiggling around out in space. That doesn't make no sense.
Can't be a regular snake.
No.
So they told him all kinds of debris comes off spaceships, especially at the back end of the main engine shutdown. So it's probably just a piece of a craft that just looks like it's wiggling and swimming through space. He said it's like a 7-foot eel swimming out there. He says he's sure that it's swimming. He doesn't have an answer for what it is.
He's failing us, Nick.
Yeah, but they won't send him up there anymore. Apparently,
Like,
they've had enough of him saying that.
They won't send him up, but they'll send freaking Katy Perry up.
Yeah, right. Well, I noticed she didn't mention the snakes coming to Earth.
Well, she didn't see him, Nick. You have to be in space to see him.
What this makes me think of, though, is they say that, like, one of the theories is that a meteor containing bacteria hit the Earth and started life here. That's called transpermia. But what if there are creatures that evolved in the vacuum of space and can travel through it no problem, and they just flew over here one day or slithered over here?
Here's the thing. I think that there's probably life all over the place. We just don't understand where it's at. And so by that, what I mean is, like we talk about, well, there's no life on the moon. There's no life on Mars. We don't know what's going on underneath the surface of anything.
No. We don't know what's going on underneath the surface of our own ocean in a lot of parts.
A lot of times when we go down there, we find stuff we didn't even know existed.
Exactly. So I don't know how we can say so confidently there is no life here. There is no life there, which has been searched by a grand total of like 2 people,
right?
A handful of people on the moon and 0 people on Mars.
Well, I know that we're sending basically what we started talking about here, those drones or whatever, to Mars. Like we've seen the Mars rover.
Mm-hmm.
And even we're questioning some of the things. If you would have watched the episode a few weeks ago, there was some questionable stuff in that video, like that doorway.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
There was that tic-tac or TikTok, whatever they call it, that was floating up in midair. You could see the shadow.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of questionable things that you look at and you go, man, that's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. And they go, it just happened naturally. It's like nothing in the world I've never once seen a shadow of something on Earth that looked like it was hovering. I've never seen that. I've never seen something shaped like a doorway naturally. Right.
Like, and that goes back to sort of that thing that they found from the Webb telescope there, that they are certain that there's life on a planet now.
Right.
Like, that's pretty interesting. Maybe that's Snake World.
Maybe it is. Maybe they're interdimensional and they're doing the interdimensional travel.
Think how brilliant that would be if aliens were intelligent snakes, and it's just so lucky that they could come to our planet where we already have regular snakes. They could just slither around and listen to us and kidnap us. And no one would be the wiser.
The Bible did talk about watch out for the serpent.
Yeah. It's from that other planet. Knows what's going on.
Talk on other planet. Serpent planet, man.
Yeah, Serpentior is what we'll call it now.
What's the place? Zeta. Shoot, that's
Oh, something Zeta Articuli or something like that.
I thought it started with an R. Reticuli? Was it Rarticuli? Rorticuli? Maybe it was Articuli.
A lot of places have reticuli on it.
It's freaking
Zeta Reticuli.
That's it.
Yeah, that's where the gray
Barney
aliens
and
are
Betty.
supposed to live.
Exactly. Barney and Betty was talking about it. I was like, there's some doggone aliens up there.
Yeah. I believe
it's crazy.
You know, when you remember those batteries we talked about that were like dime sized?
Yep.
If they're not majorly expensive, I'm going to get as many as I can. I'm going to make a space drone and I'm going to find out if there's anything in space.
Listen, no one's stopping you, Nick. You get us on the map.
Well, I'll tell you, the only two problems you have to figure out is how to keep in communication with your drone and how to power it. So we know how to power it.
We just need to know how to communicate.
Right.
I bet if you ask AI, it'll figure it out.
Oh, yeah. Let's ask it right now. Help me solve this, because we're going to find a lot of things about space when just the average person starts sending drones out in every direction.
I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if there is that kind of stuff happening right now.
Right.
That we just don't know anything about. You know, Nick, technically I could ask my AI and just see what it says. Let's see here. Hey, I got a question for you, Chat GPT. Where is that coming from? Let me turn Bluetooth off. I think Bluetooth screwed it up. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear now. What's up?
So I got $1 million question. Nick and I, do you know who Nick is, by the way?
Of course. Nick's your podcast co-host, right? What's the $1 million question?
So the $1 million question we've got is we're trying to build this drone. Now, Nick had told us on the podcast a few weeks ago that there was these batteries. This is like the size of a dime. And they're doing it using, I believe, nuclear fusion, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And those batteries are like 50 years. So what Nick said was, you know what? What we need to do is build a drone that we can send up into space with these batteries that last at least 50 years. And the question we've got, the $1 million question, we need you to discover this for us, help us figure this out, because we're trying to become rich, okay? We need a way to communicate with a drone. Can you think of a way that we could potentially communicate with a drone at least our level?
All right, that sounds like a big idea. If you're aiming to communicate with a drone over really long distances, especially something that could last decades, you'd want a super reliable communication method. One possible route is using high-frequency radio waves, which can be transmitted and received over very long distances with minimal power. You could also consider using satellite communication links. Satellites can relay signals to and from Earth, giving you a stable and continuous connection. Another approach could be leveraging a network of ground-based stations that maintain line-of-sight or near line-of-sight communication.
Ooh.
Kind of like...
Out of curiosity, can I buy any of this stuff on Amazon?
You can definitely find some of what you'd need on Amazon. High-frequency radios, long-range antennas, and even some satellite communication modules are available. The nuclear fusion batteries are a bit more futuristic and not something you'd pick up easily. But a lot of the other tech to get started is definitely out there.
So you're saying I can't probably get those batteries on Amazon. Dang it.
Yeah, those fusion batteries are more sci-fi than off the shelf right now. But hey, with the pace of tech these days, who knows what'll be available in the future? For now, focusing on robust communication tech and power efficiency is probably the way to go.
Well, I appreciate it, Miss Chat GPT. Listen, if you could sign off to the podcast, Nick and I was going to continue talking, but thanks for answering all the questions. Say goodbye to all the viewers.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Take care, y'all, and good luck with your drone adventures. Bye, everyone.
Man, she's on it tonight, Nick.
I like how she's a little bit Southern. Y'all.
She a little Southern? Listen, she's been around me a little while, Nick. You get a little Southern.
Yeah, I guess. So, yeah. So, I guess the ultra high frequency thing, it kind of seemed to suggest if you give it enough power, it can go a long ways. Well, we've got infinite power almost.
That's right.
So maybe this will be easy.
Could be the easiest thing we've ever done. Might be easier than this podcast some days, Nick, because we definitely can't never figure out YouTube.
I know.
Man.
This is kind of how like things are getting figured out, like crowdsourcing. Like I think we'll figure out if there's life on other planets by average people getting in on the hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of a book called The Voynich Manuscript?
Yes.
Did you know that Yale put it online, every single page, unadulterated copy of it?
No, I thought there's naked chicks in there, Nick.
I don't know. I haven't looked through the whole thing, but for something that's like 600 years old and it just getting online now and no one's been able to decipher a single word.
Right.
Some fella ran it through AI.
What did AI say?
It said it's an ancient dialect of Aramaic that has been purposely scrambled so that you couldn't look for human language behaviors.
Oh, wow.
Now, that was 4 years ago. And in all that time,
Nick lost his
knocked
stuff,
over
boys.
my mic. Got excited, knocked over my mic. They've only, in the 4 years since AI figured it out, they've only been able to decode one sentence.
What was it?
With knowing all that. She made recommendations to the priest, man of the house, and me and the people. That's it. 4 years it took him to decode that, even knowing the language that it's in.
I wonder if they will be able to figure it out when they're hooking it to a supercomputer.
I think they'll be able to. I think if they had if they had put it online earlier, it might have had a better chance even.
For sure.
Because people keep things secret because they want to be the ones to decode it and stuff. But it's only when it got out there to the public, someone was able to run it through AI and get that far.
That's insane.
I know. AI's doing everything for us.
Well, AI is doing an awful lot. In fact, dun, dun, dun.
Uh-oh.
I got a very important question for you, Nick, and all those of you at home. Got a wee bit of a story, but I want to ask a question before.
I'm ready.
If you was given the option of taking or should I say going to a machine and having it tell you how long you were going to be alive, would you do it?
No.
What says those of you at home? Would you do it? Would you be curious to find out how long you were going to live? Before we go any further in this podcast, tell us in the comments down below. I'm super curious how many people would actually do this. Now, there's a reason I asked that question, Nick.
Yeah.
So I was reading an article the other day, and I'm going to go to the article because I really don't want to screw this up. I found it a wee bit interesting from a would I do this point of view. So in this article, there's an AI tool that can scan your face and predict your exact biological age and cancer survival.
Really?
And they say it is extremely accurate. It is so a simple selfie could hold clues to one's biological age as well as how long they'll live, according to researchers from Mass General Bingham, who developed a deep learning algorithm called Face Age. Using a photo of someone's age, the artificial intelligence tool generates predictions of the subject's biological age, which is at a rate at which they are aging as opposed to their chronological age. Face Age also predicts survival outcomes of people with cancer, according to the press release. The AI tool has trained on 58,851 photos of presumed healthy individuals from public databases. To test the tool's accuracy, the researchers used it to analyze 6,196 cancer patients taken before radiotherapy treatment. Among the people with cancer, the tool generated a higher biological age that was about 5 years higher than their chronological age. The researchers also tested the tool's ability to predict the life expectancy of 100 people receiving this care based on their photos, then compared to 10 clinical predictions. Face Age was found to be more accurate than the actual predictions based on true medical research. We can use artificial intelligence to estimate the person's biological age by face pictures, and our study shows the information can be clinically meaningful. So basically, Nick, this machine, you throw in your photo, and when you throw in your photo, it tells you, well, this is how old we believe that you are. And in addition to that, they'll take a picture of you when you are diagnosed with cancer. They'll begin doing treatments, and then it will tell you if it's succeeding or failing.
Okay.
But
I like
you want
that
to know?
Second aspect.
Would you?
Like that second part I'd be fine with.
Are you sure? Think about this. Think about it.
Like if I already had cancer
Mm-hmm.
and it would tell me if my treatments are working or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely I would want to know that.
I wouldn't want to know.
You wouldn't want to know?
No.
Is it because you feel like if it said that not working, you'd give up hope?
Yes. And I think human hope plays at least a portion into the entire thing.
You know, I do agree with you on that. I feel like it would make me like try harder. Like I'm not someone who gives up hope until the last darn minute on things.
But
Like,
what if you're on that last minute?
well, then I'd become what may, I guess. I'd have no choice at that point.
Wouldn't it be crazy if you put your photo in and it said weeks to live?
Well, this is the part that I wouldn't like, because if it tells me I've got a year to live.
Yeah.
Like I'd kind of have to keep working because a year is a long time, but then I'm not working towards anything.
Right.
So that would be depressing.
Correct.
I'd probably... No, I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't want to know that.
I think a lot of people at home, if they're being honest in the comments, I bet the majority would not want to know.
No, I don't think.
I think it's in our human nature to not want to know.
Right. There's some people who would like to know. And I think that's...
And I can see some value in it.
At the... I don't know if you have the same kind of thing in the US, but we have an urgent care center.
Yeah.
Where people just go if they don't want to go to their family doctor or whatever. They can just walk into this place and get treatment.
Yep.
The same people who are there like 3-4 times a week. I think they'd want to know.
I think it would be the people that they don't want to leave a burden on their family. So if they know how much time they have, maybe they can make some of those preparations themselves. They can get a burial plot, a tombstone. They can put a will in work.
Right.
They can do all those many things.
Mm-hmm.
They can say their final goodbyes to the people that's important to them to say goodbye to.
Yeah.
But I think the human part of me would not want to know.
No. And as for saying goodbyes and stuff like that, every time I part with my family, I always tell them all I need to tell them. So,
yeah.
And I think you're probably like that too.
I try to. I need to do a better job. Like I wish, for whatever reason, I have a tough time expressing feelings. I have a very hard time with that.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people do. A lot of people do.
I would say I'm probably extreme. I would go as far as to say I'm extreme. Like, I'm pretty tough on my kids. Like, I'm really tough on them.
Okay.
And I think I'm tough on them because I understand that the real world is going to be 100 times more vicious than me.
Right.
And I don't want them to go out into the world and just assume that this life is going to be as forgiving as me. Like, I'm a tough parent, but I try to be fair.
I think you balance it out too, because you're always doing family game nights and having fun discussions with your kids and your wife.
I try to.
So, I mean, there's different ways of showing love.
Well, it's amazing because, you know, we talk about our bee machine all the time, which could be a sponsor of the show if you guys would like to do that. But that's your free one. But it's always funny because I'll ask it at the end of the day, I'll say, you know, was I a good parent?
Right.
And a lot of times it's like, you know, you're a good parent. We can see it, you know, but you do have tough conversations with your kids. And I think it's just, I don't want them to get beat down in real life because real life is difficult. I don't think people understand the ins and outs of it. And, you know, I just did a video not that long ago. And one of the things that I talked about is a lot of people puts on a cheap facade. And that cheap facade, you don't always understand what's truly going on inside the person. And some people's just beat down, man. Life just beats them all the way down. And I want my kids to be resilient. I don't want them to get beat down like some of these people and just get stuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's skills they have to develop for coping with the hard times.
Yeah.
I like that clip of Stallone where he's like, it's not about how big of a beating you take. It's not about how many times you get beat down. It's about how many times you get back up or something like that.
Yep, he was dead on. There's two boxing references that I love. That's one of them.
Yeah.
And the second one is from Mike Tyson. Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
That's true.
And it's like, that's real true, man. You get punched in the mouth, you're like, man, I'm going to take this guy out. And you get punched in the mouth. And you're like, well, hold on now. You know, but it's very true.
I don't watch it enough, but I really love boxing. Yeah. I find that the closest thing we have to a modern honorable warrior sport. Like, I know UFC is a thing, but I consider boxing a high class version of that.
Yeah, it probably is. I would agree with that.
And a lot of real heroes came out of boxing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Think about the old Gladiators, man. That was wild. That had to have been wild to watch back in the days.
Oh, yeah. Did you know that very rarely did gladiators actually die in the games?
Yeah. The only ones that did were the criminals.
Yeah, the criminals. And also if the owner of the gladiator house had ticked off the emperor.
Yes.
Then he might give him the thumbs down, but he'd have to pay the people compensation.
Where a lot of people died was the animals.
Oh, yeah. You can't control them.
No.
But I'm pretty sure that was only criminals that were going up against them.
I didn't even know this. Did you know they put rhinos inside some of those gladiator stadiums?
Oh, man, you couldn't do anything against a rhino.
Could you imagine? You're not winning that fight.
Did you know, and this one really blew my mind, because think of the Colosseum in Rome.
Yeah.
Did you know they used to flood that and have ship battles in there?
I did know that. I saw a video on that.
Crazy.
That's insane, dude.
Like, I'm really jealous of what we could go watch on like Saturday night if we were in Roman times.
Which brings me to a viral question going on right now, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know where I'm going with this?
I have guesses, but
The big viral question going around right now,
mm-hmm.
and I need your answer.
Okay.
Who would you pick? 100 men or one gorilla?
I think the 100 men can do it.
I don't think so.
If they all swarmed him at once, I think so.
I
Because a
think
gorilla isn't as strong as 100 men.
no. But what happens
Mhm.
when the first 10 men get their arms ripped off and their face chewed off? What's the other 90 thinking?
Well, they're probably going to want to run, but let's say
That's
we've
the
got them.
problem.
Let's say we've got them in a cage where they can't get out. They'll have
Yep.
to work together. I guess there's like different caveats and stuff like that.
I think there is, dude. It's a different day and age. Like, remember in the Civil War, the people in the front line, they were guaranteed to die.
Oh yeah, and they knew
And
it.
they still went.
Yeah, patriotism's a heck of a thing.
It really is. I feel like we've lost a lot of that through the years.
I don't want to be that patriotic.
Yeah, me neither. Let's
Like,
just everyone
what-
get along.
Well, I'd just be like, why don't we save some time and you just shoot me here and I'll roll into a ditch. Save everyone some time.
Facts. You know,
That's
along
crazy.
the lines of, we was talking about cancer earlier. I
Mhm.
did watch something else. I just watched it today. Technically, I found it absolutely fascinating. There was this guy, he was talking, what's the name of that podcast? I feel like if I watch something, I should plug it because it was pretty fascinating. I said watched it.
I should probably, I used a little bit from that Event Horizon podcast for some of the things I talked about today. So I should probably say that as well.
100%. I think if we get information from somewhere, we should always say
Mhm.
where it comes from.
Event Horizon has been the source of a lot of the stuff we've talked about before, like the Fermi paradox and the snake thing I saw today. So
It's fascinating.
mhm.
The one I was watching was the Diary of a CEO
Oh,
is the name of the thing. And he has all kinds of people on there. Like he covers a lot of topics,
right.
but he was talking to Dr. William Lee. And Dr. William Lee, he was talking about, and we've talked about this. We talked about it not that long ago about microplastics.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I'll be honest, he scared the piss out of me with all this talk about microplastics.
It is scary. My friend that you know how I go to Halifax every
Mhm.
couple of months and stay a couple days over the weekend. My friend is an was it an oceanographical technical engineer,
Yep.
and he tells me about this topic and he is freaked out about it. So
Well, we don't know what's happening to our bodies,
mm,
but what we do know is that cancer I found this mind blowing.
hmm
Just in the last decade, what percentage of cancer do you believe it has increased? If you was to take a wild guess, percentage wise,
200%.
not quite that extreme.
Oh, okay.
80%.
80. That's a lot still.
That's a lot. That's a freaking lot. Like that's
Yeah.
almost 1-for-1.
Right. Now, here's something scary I saw a documentary on YouTube about the other day.
Mm-hmm.
There's towns in, I think it was some part on the coast of Asia, where, you know, a lot of countries ship their garbage to other
Yep.
countries to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they make tofu. This whole town, every single building makes tofu,
Yeah.
and they burn plastic to heat the fires and all this kind of stuff. They just burn plastic, no wood whatsoever. And it's just 24 hours a day spewing plastic and microplastics into the water, the air.
Allegedly.
No, this is a fact. We don't even have to say that on this.
Never mind.
They talk about it openly.
Oh, wow.
It's not illegal there.
That's insane.
In fact, the people know it and they still buy the tofu.
You know, I think, like when you and I talk about microplastics, originally I'm like, well, yeah, that sucks. Like it's in our body, but whatever. Do you know how much of that's in our body?
Like a crazy amount.
In a lot of people that uses plastics every day, they consume the equivalent of plastics. If you combine all the plastics from all of the stuff they've done through 1 week, now I understand the time frame, 1 week, we consume and drink the equivalent of 1 credit card a week in plastic.
Isn't that wild?
That's wild.
Because if we actually did consume that credit card, it would never leave our body.
Correct.
Which
and what they're saying is, they're saying that a lot of this plastic is not. And he mentioned that they was not really looking at microplastics in the body very much until recently, really the last decade. And one of the things that he mentioned, which was shocking, because they never looked in the body. Okay, where's microplastics at? Where are we finding these microplastics? And one of the places they found it, which was shocking, was in the brain.
Oh, really?
Now, here's what's fascinating. This is going to blow your mind. The brain is already pretty condensed.
Right.
Like it's generally, like it's hard for things to get through there. They was doing these autopsies of people that was, dying of natural causes. So not even cancer or anything like that.
Right.
The average, we're talking average human, when they dissected the brain and looked at the amount of plastics inside the brain, you could make a plastic spoon out of the amount of plastic just in the brain.
That can't be healthy for a human being.
The thing that I didn't know is it's in our bloodstream.
Yeah.
And it's going through our veins. And what they found was we have, as men, this is the most predominant. We have widowmakers, and we have the veins that go up through our neck. And what they found is these microplastics are getting stuck. And it's getting stuck because as time progresses, our veins start to break down a little bit, and they almost get like these crevices. Well, these microplastics are hard. So they get stuck inside those crevices and they build up just like plaque.
Yeah. And then stronger plaque, really.
Then you get plaque that's sticking to the plastic, and then there's more of it. So what they're saying is they believe that that's going to increase the likelihood of heart disease also. The other fascinating thing that he talked about, which blew my mind, like, I'll be honest, like he scared the piss out of me. Like, really,
oh yeah.
Every
time I talk about this, I come out not feeling good about things.
I'm like, man, I kind of want to change my lifestyle now.
Yeah.
He talked, because
what I'm going to tell you after is going to make it so it doesn't even matter.
Oh man,
if you change your lifestyle. So
what he said was, because the guy was talking about, he's like, well, how do you kind of prevent some of this? And he goes, well, you can never truly prevent it, but he said you can do certain things to reduce it. And like one thing that I never thought about, the cups and stuff that's in your home, as kids, you want them to have plastic cups. You don't want them to have glass or anything like that. And that is a conduit of plastic because it's constantly breaking down. A big one, a number of plastics came. I had no clue. Tea bags.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They spray a plastic on it to hold it together. And when you heat that, the plastic literally just breaks off of the bag, allegedly. And then I forget what he said, like 2 million. And then whatever the measurement of that was, by far the highest particulate amount of plastic deposited. So he said, really, you should be doing the loose leaf versus the tea bags.
Right.
Because that was by far the biggest The biggest drop in because they're spraying plastic on that to hold that together.
Yeah.
But he said foods wrapped in plastic, you should never buy it.
Nope.
He said you should not buy any drink container with plastic. You should never eat off of one of my favorite things in the whole world, paper plates.
Oh, really? That's too bad.
Because they put a lining of plastic on it.
Yeah, so it doesn't leak through.
Yes. So every time you eat, like at a picnic, you're screwed because you got the plates that have the sprayed plastic on it. And then on top of that, you got the styrofoam cups. You've got the freaking red cups.
Yeah.
But think about it. Like, we don't drink out of Dixie cups anymore, and that was safe.
Yeah.
Paper plates with no plastic, that was safe.
Right. Yeah. It's plastics that have really been a problem.
Yes.
But I'm going to tell you something really scary.
Oh, God.
Is that microplastics have completely infiltrated our water supply. 100%. Yeah. So fish in the ocean, full of microplastics.
Yep.
Carrots, potatoes, any vegetable or fruit that you eat is giving you an extremely high dose of microplastics, whether it's wrapped or not, because it's inside it as it grows.
Yeah.
Meat from all the animals drinking the water, they're full of microplastics. Like, it's inescapable. Now, not having wrapped products, not drinking out of plastic cups, that's going to help. But the scary thing is every year, a carrot's going to have more microplastics in it than the year before.
Well, you know what was interesting that he talked about, kind of along the lines of what you're mentioning? Mothers producing breast milk is passing microplastic through breast milk.
Yep. Yeah. He told me about that too.
Sperm also has microplastic in it.
Yeah, can't trust anyone these days.
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah. This could be the thing that does us in eventually, because it's getting worse all the time.
Right.
And there's really not a way that we know of to handle it.
There's not. We would have to completely revert everything we was doing.
Yeah.
And even then, what's already out there is out there. Like, there's, you can't, what is it they always say? You can't put the toothpaste back into the toothpaste container. Right.
You can't unring a bell. That's the one.
Well, the toothpaste container, it's plastic too.
That's right. That's right. We're doomed, Bert. We're doomed.
We're doomed. Dude, I thought that was crazy. Listening to him talk about all this stuff, I was like, that is nuts.
It's a real life horror story, because it's like if you were outside and you saw 100 miles away a tidal wave coming and there's just nothing you could do about it.
Right.
That's what this is.
Correct.
Like, I don't even know if we can filter microplastics out of water.
You can't. They're microscopic.
Right. So how do you deal with that? There's some bacteria that I've heard of that eat the stuff.
There is.
But I actually, if they eat it, they got to poop it out.
I went to a article because I was looking this up. I was super fascinated by this entire topic. And the article that I read, there's now a parasite that is found inside medical hospitals that's feeding off of the plastics inside the hospitals.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So much microplastics showing up there that they're evolving.
It makes you wonder.
Well, maybe we need those parasites.
I tell you though, this guy was fascinating because he went down that rabbit hole of all the microplastics and stuff.
Yeah.
But he also talked about cancer. And, you know, of course, the microplastics came up with a conversation about cancer, but he said a lot of things that I thought was interesting, because the guy that was doing it, he was talking about, why are we seeing such a surplus? And of course, that's when the plastics came up. But the guy said there's so much more to it than just that. We started doing processed meats.
Right.
Processed meats is a carcinogen.
Yeah. It has nitrates.
Yes.
That guarantee you will get cancer if you eat enough of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's that. There is the other thing that he mentioned is the amount of sodium and preservatives that's inside of like frozen meals.
Yeah.
In addition to that, fast food restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
And he said something very interesting. He said every single day there is tens of thousands of cancer cells that's going rogue inside your body.
Oh, really?
Every day, everybody. He said the difference is your immune system is what prevents them from going forward. So your body's always naturally looking for these rogue agents, so to speak.
Right.
And it kills them off instantly. It's when your body's immune system is low,
right,
that it kind of says oopsies and it lets it get a little bit too big. And then it starts. An interesting thing that he talked about, and I didn't know this, inside the body, blood vessels, they have these paths that they're supposed to stay on inside the body, and they grow within those paths. When your blood vessels starts, basically your immune system gets low, and as your immune system and your DNA starts to break down, these blood vessels start growing in other places that they're not really intended to be.
Yeah.
They get onto one of these cancer cells and boom, they grow 800 times in a week.
I was gonna say this next is like, why does cancer exist? Like, what's the purpose of this? So I looked it up. And the number one thing is cell division is essential, but risky.
Yes.
Your body constantly creates new cells to grow, repair damage, and maintain organs. Every time a cell divides, it copies its DNA. But mutations can occur in the copying process. Most mutations are harmless or fixed, but some can disrupt genes that control cell growth, leading to uncontrolled division. That makes me wonder if you were to get injured more in your lifetime, would that increase your chances of getting cancer?
Or would it decrease it because your immune system's going to be at a heightened state?
True. But if cell division is risky every time.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just playing the numbers then.
You are. Literally, his exact words was today. The guy said, the guy that was interviewing him said, you know, I find it so weird that out of 100 people, the people that you would think wouldn't get cancer do, and the people that do, that you think would, do not. And he said it's like Russian roulette. And that doctor said that's not the case at all. He said every single body, they have these mutations of mistakes that's happening. Right. He said that's why it doesn't discriminate age, race. It doesn't discriminate anything. He said there's things that will play a contributing factor into it. Right. He said, but it'd be like if I gave you a sentence, this is what he told the guy. If I gave you a sentence and said, write that for me 5 times. He said, you're probably going to write it perfectly 5 times. Now write it 10 times, 50 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. He said, eventually you're going to screw up a few times. Right. He said, that's a cancer cell. Yep. The other fascinating thing that he talked about, and he used breast cancer as a conversation piece, because that has expedited or has expeditiously grown at like rates that's just alarming.
I think it's one of the most common types.
It is. And what he said was that the number one thing they tell all women is to, do your breast exams often. If you feel a lump, go to your practitioner and, go from there. He said to be able to feel a lump in your chest, it has to be the equivalent of 1 centimeter. Right. Do you know how many repetitions of a cell that is at 1 centimeter?
No idea.
I think he said 80,000. So it's already grown 80,000 times. He said if that's a cancer cell, it's already beyond the brink. You're going to have to get operated and you're going to have to go through radiation and things. Now, here's what's fascinating. He's a big proponent of what you eat and what you drink can do things against cancer, which was quite fascinating. And he explained it. His mother, he lost an uncle, I think, to colon cancer, I think. One of the cancers. I can't remember which one. And a few years later, his mom got cancer. She got ovarian cancer. And she got a hysterectomy, stage 4. It came back stage 4. So she did the hysterectomy, and as that occurred, they thought they was fine for a little bit, and then it came back, and then it spread. Stage 4. Said he went to the doctor, and he was a doctor also, and the doctor's like, "You're a doctor, you know, like this is pretty bad. This is dire." And he goes, "Well, what do we do?" And he goes, "You know, at this point, there's some experimental treatments we can try. She's 70. So the odds are not good. Just you're a doctor and you understand this, obviously. I know it's your mom." He said that he changed his mom's entire eating regimen. They hit her with 2 treatments of radiation, no chemotherapy. By the second radiation, she went from stage 4 to stage 0.
Really?
Yeah.
What was her diet like?
He said that it doesn't truly matter because each individual is different.
Right.
But there's a lot of things that you can eat that's anti-cancer. It breaks down the cancer stem cells, which is what it uses to replicate.
Right.
And if you do that and then you break it, one of the things that he talks about is oxygen inside the bloodstream is like kryptonite, literally kryptonite to cancer cells.
Okay.
And have you ever seen purple potatoes?
Oh, yeah.
It's got an anti-cancer element to it. Turmeric.
Oh, really?
Also, yep.
I eat a ton of turmeric, so that's good.
That's a good thing. He talked about a lot of things that can, what's it called? They can, oh man, what's it called? Why can't I not think of the word? It basically puts your body in like a heightened sense of immune. But basically what he said is if you can get the body hopped up in the immune system, it will fight those cancer cells. And that's technically what's happening. It's when your body's immune system's down.
Right.
And then it latches on. Once it latches on, you're kind of stuck at that point unless you get it back to a point. But he also brought up the AI sequencing, which is you and I talked about a few weeks ago.
Right.
And he said, what you do is now AI, you can feed in an entire DNA strand into AI. Then you do the same thing with the clean blood cell. And what it does is it looks for all the markers between the 2 strands of DNA. And then you can create a medication that will then use that marker like a smoking gun is what he called it.
Right.
To kill off those cancer cells. And he said that could be the biggest life-changing factor that AI has ever done for us, which you and I talked about it like a month ago, I think.
Oh, yeah. Is this like nanotechnology or is this like, it's just AI's coming up with the pill?
So what AI is doing is figuring out the markers. So what it's looking for is this is a clean blood cell, DNA from the blood cell. This is one with the cancer. Where are the markers that's causing this growth? So what it's doing is it's then create basically like mRNA to a degree, right? Like it's putting that membrane or the stem. What it's doing is it's putting like a blocker in there. Correct. So what it's doing is it's making it so it can't do anything, and then it kills off that cell.
Right.
So instead of replication, it's then dividing and then reducing to the point to where you're then technically in a sense of, I mean, as he would explain it, going from like a stage 4 to a stage 0. He said he's seen it now multiple times just with diet.
I can't wait till that comes out because that's one of the worst things going. Like so many people are affected by.
Absolutely by far.
Now, there's another guy who is saying, you've heard of Ray Kurzweil?
I don't know. Maybe.
Well, he's a futurist who's had a lot of really good luck with his predictions. And he says that true immortality by 2030 is highly possible. And it's all because of AI. Because we could have nanotechnology that is repairing us on the fly.
Dude, I'm telling you, it really makes you kind of question what life is going to be like just 10 years from now.
Yeah, on the one hand, it worries me a little bit because there's so many people.
Yeah.
And if people aren't leaving or aren't dying, we're just going to get overpopulated. So we'll have to come up with an option for that. But
you know, they say that, but that's so far from the truth.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
But if no one at all was ever dying, that eventually is going to become a problem.
Do you know what percentage of the earth we truly populate?
50%?
No, not even close. Not even close. Technically, the entire world could live within the United States.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I just watched something not that long ago. In fact, I believe it was a state within the United States.
Oh, wow. Well, excuse me. I know during the Black Plague, we dropped to only 2 million people in the human race at one point.
Yep. Well, let's ask our friend, the AI machine. I was going to type it in, but I'm like, hell, it's so much fun to just ask it. Why don't we just ask it, see what's going on? Let's see. Where's my little AI buddy at? Let's see if our AI friend can answer this question for us. Because I feel like I watched it somewhere, but maybe they just know. Hey, I got a question for you.
Sure thing. What's on your mind?
So Nick and I was talking about in the podcast, and I feel like I've seen this somewhere, but we was talking about how if we took everyone in the entire world and we put them in the same exact spot, what percentage of the earth would actually be filled with people?
That's a pretty wild thought. If you put everyone in the world together in one place, it wouldn't take up nearly as much space as you might think. With over 8 billion people, if each person stood shoulder to shoulder, they could fit into an area roughly the size of Los Angeles. That's just a tiny fraction of the Earth's land area. So it'd be a very small percentage of the planet's surface.
So out of curiosity, if people was to live in just one area, let's say everyone built a house, do you think it would potentially be like the size of Texas, or do you think it would be bigger than that?
If everyone in the world had a house and some space to live, it would definitely be bigger than just Los Angeles, but it might still fit into a place the size of Texas. With around 8 billion people, if you gave each person a modest plot of land for a house and yard, the total area would be roughly the size of Texas or a bit larger. So the entire world's population could theoretically live in an area around that size, though it'd be pretty crowded.
Perfect. Thanks for the heads up.
Shocking.
I appreciate it.
You got it.
So think about that. Now this goes back.
Surprising.
See, but here's the thing. Think about it this way, right? Like we talk about, we're told all this stuff all the time. The media tells us this junk, right?
Right.
But here's the reality. These countries, I think a lot of it's propaganda.
Right.
And what they go is, man, we're overpopulated. We're not going to have enough resources. There's not enough land for all these people. When you take the fact that you have all these people in the world and you can put them in one state, you could give everyone their own house. and they would fit inside Texas, one of our 50 states.
Yeah, that's pretty surprising.
Correct. So we're not technically in a state of overpopulation. Like we got plenty of room.
Not yet. But
not yet.
Imagine no one died each year.
But they're
How long
going
would
to.
it be?
But they're going to.
But not if everyone got this treatment that Ray Kurzweil's talking about.
But you forget, people are going to die from other causes.
Yeah, like violent accidents, probably.
Accidents, animal attacks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there could potentially be things that come up that we just don't have anything for. I mean, like a prime example, COVID came up.
Mm-hmm.
What killed us during COVID, I believe, was we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know how to treat it. And then on top of that, I think people put them in a state of becoming scared. And I don't think that helped us either.
No, it doesn't help to be scared.
No, I mean, think about it. That was a very scary time for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
No one knew what was going on, and we didn't really know how to treat it. And similar to the conversation we had about if there was a machine that you could type in and find out how old you are and how long it's going to be to live, we said no.
Right.
Why? Because, you know, if I know I'm only going to die 2 weeks, I might look at things differently and I might cause myself. I believe that's what happened during that time frame.
I think you could be right. Like, there's a lot of people who lost hope during that time.
Correct.
It definitely caused people mental problems.
100%. It's a very scary time. But I don't want people to believe in a whole lot of the stuff they hear. The whole overpopulation thing, that's a bunch of malarkey. That's not actually true.
So I'm just looking up one more thing right quickly here.
Mm-hmm. See, if you had a talking AI, Nick.
I know. Suppose I could. Ooh. So dogs kill 59,000 people every year.
Yep.
Snakes, 125,000. Mosquitoes, 725,000. Other animals, doesn't say the exact amount. So if we take the number of births and we subtract the numbers of death that are accidents, animal attacks, violent and freak accidents, that kind of thing, we'd have each year we'd be growing about 70 million people.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the next question would be, well, it's kind of a moot point because not everyone's going to be able to get this drug.
Correct.
Probably only the very wealthy are going to get it.
But look at birth rates. We're in a steady decline in multiple countries.
Mm-hmm.
China will not be able to sustain itself in the next 30 years because the elder population, they don't have enough children to take care of them. And that's for the first time
doesn't
ever.
Have enough females in their country.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's why. When you look at the average person having a kid now, they're significantly older. And the numbers are significantly less than it has ever been in the last 50 years.
Mm.
There's a reason for all this.
Yeah. Well, that makes me feel better because I'm definitely taking the Immortality drug.
I think we talked about this once before. I don't want anything like that.
I absolutely want something like that. Even if I'm floating in space and everything else is gone, I'm cool with it.
I feel like because here's the thing no one talks about.
Mm-hmm.
We can definitely potentially extend how long we live, but what's the quality of life at that age?
Right. So you're thinking like maybe you'll still age and get more feeble over time.
Your brain's not going to last forever.
No.
Your brain is on, regardless of what you do to the body, your brain is going to be something that's going to deteriorate with time. Right. It's not made to last forever. It's really not. And then the problem that you run into is let's say someone can live to be 150 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're watching the potential of your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren all dying while you're living.
Mm.
And on top of that, we don't talk about this a whole lot, and I'm going to try to skirt this very carefully because I don't want to get us in more YouTube trouble. Sometimes I feel like some of the things we're given to help us hurts us.
Right.
Because there's Bill Gates is the first one to tell you we're overpopulated, we should reduce. But what does that mean? Reduce? What do you mean?
I wouldn't like to reduce people.
But it makes you wonder why we do some of the things we do. I don't know. What says you at home? What do y'all think? Do you think there's something going on? And did you answer the question we asked earlier? Would you do the doggone time thing to see how long you're going to live? That's what I really want to know. I want to know how many people actually would do that. I would.
Do you want to live forever?
Yeah. Do you want to live forever? Man, we're going morbid on this thing. But hopefully y'all enjoy the podcast. If you enjoy the podcast, you've not gave us that thumbs up. If you could definitely give us that thumbs up. Also, don't be doggone stingy. Tell your friends about how amazing we are. In fact, I got a new vehicle today, Nick. And as soon as I got in it and I connected my Bluetooth, you know what popped up?
What?
Deceptive Reality.
Nice.
It was in my Spotify. It automatically popped up. It's like, you want to listen to this? I'm like, you're kind of right. Nice. I kind of do. Nice. But listen, hopefully y'all enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, wherever you're listening to the podcast, give us that thumbs up and let people know. Until we see you in the next podcast, goodbye.
See you later.
Alligator.
Crocodile.
It's after a while, crocodile.